Okay, what's up?
Yeah, so you were listening to that Project 2025
Hmm.
video there. I don't quite understand what the issue with Project 2025 is like in terms of an attack against Trump. Like he has said repeatedly that he doesn't like it and whatever. And then what Project 2025 actually is, it's pretty confusing. It's like this 800-page document with all these policies,
Hmm.
and I think it's kind of hard to say which one of those policies like Trump in theory would actually support and which ones he wouldn't.
Okay, so the point in Project 2025 is to say these are policies that the Trump base wants. These are the things that they are looking for. It doesn't matter if they are the ones who are in charge of implementing this or whatever, but they're saying this is what we believe the MAGA crowd wants, and when they're voting for Trump, these are the things that they're voting for. These are the things that they hope get implemented. And so when Trump says, "Oh no, I don't have anything to do with that. That stuff's crazy. That's far right stuff." Well, when you look at it, it's actually just, it really is just stuff that Trump wants. It's just stuff that Trump has advocated for tons of times, and it is very much like Christian nationalist types of policies. And so obviously liberals are going to look at that sort of stuff, and like leftists and progressives and those sorts of people are going to look at all of that and be like, oh yeah, I definitely don't want anything like that. And if Trump gets into office, that's going to be kind of crazy if he starts implementing stuff like this, right?
Right, but I don't really think Trump is that, like, in terms of a Christian nationalist, I don't think Trump is that socially conservative compared to probably the majority of people on the right. Like, Trump has already basically gone as far left as you can on abortion for a Republican. Like, obviously not as left as someone on the left, but on that issue, he, as an example, like Amber Rose was at the RNC and he was like supportive of that. To my knowledge, she is still on OnlyFans. Like, I don't think Trump
Well, I mean,
really is
he
the
was
guy
literally
that would
cheating on
support a
his
bunch
wife
of those
with
like
porn
far
stars,
right
so
policies that would be in there potentially. Like, I know one. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Trump was literally cheating on his wife with porn stars, so I don't think anybody expects him to have issues with Amber Rose. But the Project 2025 stuff is, again, like, these are things that people, so like one of the things is about transgender rights, saying that like gender identities should be rejected. It shouldn't be like allowed in schools at all. They shouldn't like talk about these things whatsoever. I would agree with this to an extent, about like up to a grade level, but when like all of us, I grew up in a Christian nationalist paleoconic sort of household, and I know for me that growing up and learning about like sex and learning about like all of this stuff, it was confusing as fuck, because yeah, we didn't get this information, we really weren't told about it, and it was almost seen as like unseemly to talk to kids about sex, even though we've gone through fucking puberty already. We now have like all of these drives that are inherent to us as humans, and we've got hormones pumping through us all the time telling us to go stick our dicks in everything, and we just don't know what it is that's actually going on. We don't know what it is that that's happening to us, because we're told some really weird things about stuff. Like one story that I've told a bunch of times, and I don't mean to ramble, but one story that I was told a bunch of times from my family was, my dad said all the time that men don't really love, and they don't like get married for love. They don't date for love. Those things don't really matter to guys. Guys don't really have love. Guys want sex. Guys just want sex. But women don't want sex. Women don't really care about sex. They're not interested in sex. Women only have sex because they want love. And so they'll have sex with men to get love from men, and men will give love to women in order to get sex from women, and that this is the trade-off that everybody's always engaging in. So for me, as somebody growing up, I was very uncomfortable around women who were like hitting on me and like trying to like trying to do stuff with me is I kept thinking I was like making them think that they had to do this in order for me to like them, or in order for me to like show them attention or to be nice to them. And I always felt like I was somehow like coercing them into this, or holding like some sort of treat over their head to get them to try to have sex with me. And I felt like shit all the time. Anytime a girl would come up and kiss me or something, I'd feel like, oh man, I did this to her. I made her think that she had to do this in order to get me to like her. And oh man, I feel so horrible. And it was painful, dude. And this is the type of stuff that happens. That's not that exact story, but stuff like this happens in Christian families a lot, to where they don't get this education. And these stuff like Project 2025 is going to make those sorts of things worse.
But I mean, I don't know exactly the policy that you're referring to, but Project 2025 is such a broad, like it's all these essays and articles from all these different people. And as an attack against Donald Trump, it's just impossible to know which of the policies he agrees with and which he doesn't. It's just such a large document. So, like this policy that you're describing, he may be just totally for it, because you don't know, because he said multiple times like he just disavows Project 2025. He's probably saying that just because he knows that now the left can't use that as like a political hit against him.
Correct.
But it's impossible to say which ones of these he agrees with, because in terms of like a traditional social conservative, Trump isn't really that. Like I think a better attack line against Trump would be like temperament or whatever, but I don't think it's really that help. Like I don't think going at him as this like far right social conservative, like some of that stuff in the Project 2025 is like, I think one thing in there is saying ban porn. Like I don't think Trump would be for any of those sort of far right social conservative policies.
Well, but you know that that Trump does try to appease Christian nationalists, though. Like, obviously, he's not one, but he does try to pretend to be one, and he does try to appease those people consistently, right?
He probably kind of tries to be everything for all people, but what would be like an example of him doing that? Because I'm not necessarily disagreeing, but.
Well, I mean, even so, just recently, one of the things that a lot of people had a problem with, where they ran away with some conspiracies, so I'm not going into like the conspiracy level here, but there's that video of him saying, Christians, I love you, Christians, oh, Christians are my favorite, and I need the Christians to get out and vote just this one time. You just need to vote just this one time, and then you won't have to vote again. Oh, my mic's messing up. Hold on one second.
Hello?
Sorry, my mic messes up sometimes. But yeah, he's saying like, he's telling them that they just have to vote this one time and that's it, and then they're good. Like he always talks about that sort of thing, right? He just did the Bible thing where it was like the Constitution, or sorry, it wasn't the Constitution, the Bill of Rights mixed with the Bible in one book. There was obviously, like, he seemed to be like pro-abortion initially, but then started like making a big deal about the fact that abortion shouldn't be legal and that they need to like the Supreme Court ended up re-ruling to give it to the states. He's like, a lot of the stuff that he said initially, where he was saying like, oh yeah, like I'm pro-trans people and they can identify as whatever they want, and said some stuff about Caitlyn Jenner being brave and crap like that. He's gone back on all of that and been very like anti-trans, and has played into the culture war stuff there. Yeah, he's just like, obviously with his actions, he doesn't come across as any sort of Christian nationalist. But when it comes to the things that he advocates for and the people that he tries to appease, he is he is obviously going to try to appease those people, as he always has. Like, he's hired tons of the people from the Project 2025 thing and seems to be working closely with them, as does his entire staff.
Yeah, well, but a lot of that Project 2025 stuff, I think from what I've heard of it, it just some of it, a lot of it is just basic conservative policy, but I don't know. It's hard to say what exactly he would agree with and what he wouldn't. I just think like the Project 2025 thing is just kind of a boogeyman attack when, like, as an example, I think a better attack on Donald Trump for policy would be he talks about tariffs all the time. I think that would be a better sort of debate against Donald Trump, or his temperament, although I think that can sometimes be a positive as well.
Okay, so
But
let's go over a couple of these things. So let's say transgender rights. Transgender rights and gender identity beyond biological sex are roundly rejected, with such steps as reinstating the ban on transgender Americans serving in the military, prohibiting public school educators from referring to students by anything other than their birth name and pronouns without parental permission, and ensuring no federal funds are used to provide gender-affirming care. This is, first off, let's just say this is already antithetical to the types of things that they say, because they're running around all the time saying that gender dysphoria is a mental illness. But here they're saying, well, we're not going to allow any sort of federal funds to go towards people getting any help done with their mental illnesses. Like, this is something that Trump has talked about and that Trump would advocate for and that Trump would be okay for. And it's, yes, generally just a normal Republican talking point and Republican stance, but also something that is probably unconstitutional to some extent, and is something that people are going to find fairly dangerous. No?
transgender rights. So this is like, and then students by anything other than their birth name and pronouns without parental permission, and ensuring no federal funds are used to provide gender affirming care. You're claiming that Trump would agree with this, what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I'd have to see, like, where does Trump, I don't hear Trump talk about transgender things at all. He maybe in a soundbite will say something like, we need to get women out of men's sports, or other way around, but I've never heard him like have that strong of a stance on this. This is more like the Ron DeSantis camp of the Republican Party.
Okay, so Trump's education record includes, let's see, where's the, it should be here. Here it is. Trump has left a lengthy trail of verbal attacks about transgender athletes, from bullying them during rallies to calling them sick and deranged. He frequently used charged language to diminish.
This is like what I consider Trump on this issue. This is like the only thing I've heard him comment on. Like this.
The athlete stuff.
He just goes off about like, we need to keep. I've heard him say like, we need to keep men out of women's sports, or whatever he says.
Yeah, sure. He frequently uses charged language to diminish and demean transgender people and threaten supportive education environments. Phrasing such as radical civics and transgender insanity. Trump claims that if reelected, he would prevent transgender women nationwide from participating in women's sports. He also mocked and misgendered a transgender athlete, Leah Thomas, as well as an unidentified weightlifter. So
where's this article from? Like, what's the article from? And
this is from GLAAD, GLAAD.org. This is called a fact sheet on Donald Trump on LGBTQ issues in education.
Do you disagree though with that? Like on the Leah Thomas thing, do you think Leah Thomas should be participating in that? And to be honest, this is not an issue this is just, to be honest, not an issue like I think about much at all. But do you think Leah Thomas should be, like, on that one there? Do you agree with Trump or no?
I don't. I would say that on the one thing about like trans women in sports, Yeah, I don't think I have a problem with that necessarily. That one's not as big of a deal. But when it says like supportive education environments for trans people, that's like what it was that we were just reading, where they're talking about trans people being able to be like referred to as names and pronouns that that align with their identity. Um and on top of that, they've literally talked about like taking, I think it's that the same people have talked about taking books out of schools. Let's see, designed an extremist group by the Southern
Well,
Poverty Law Center,
on the
Moms for
transgender,
Liberty.
Tom, on that transgender issue, do you agree with what California just did about how in California you don't have to tell your parents if you're changing your pronouns? Do you agree with that?
Okay, it's a little complicated. Um, so I do think that parents should know, and I think that any sort of issue with like trans kids, I don't think that they should ever be like aligning with a kid's gender identity without the parents' permission or acknowledgement or something like that. Um, the part where it starts to get a little sticky and where people seem to focus on is if there's somebody that's like parents that are a bit like more abusive towards their children if they're trans and try to like deny them the ability to identify as something else. And then all of a sudden
Yeah.
the parents are going to tell the school, no, you can't do this. And that's obviously going to be harmful to the child. Whereas like you would expect schools to do the thing. And so I would say that if it gets to the point where a doctor is actually diagnosing this kid and saying they have like a serious mental health issue, and the parents are saying no, that like we're not going to allow any sort of treatment for this mental health issue or mental illness, I would say at that point it's probably considered child abuse and needs to have some sort of like defects or some shit involved. But that I wouldn't, yeah, I don't think I would ever say just don't tell the parents then. I would never say that's okay.
Yeah, but that is like what the California just passed though.
I haven't read the California bill, so I would have to go through it, but um, I do know that they tried to pass something like that in like 2020, and I thought, yeah, for me, it shouldn't be at a school level where they're making those decisions. The school should be reporting that sort of abuse somewhere else while also aligning with whatever it is that the parents are telling them to do. So, yeah, I would have to actually go through the bill and see what all it says about that and like who they're supposed to actually report this to and what the what is it called, like the chain of reports is. But yeah, this other part, so it says designated an extremist group by the Southern Poverty Law Center, Moms for Liberty, and 4L focuses on advocacy, which has included calls for book bans, classroom censorship, and bans on teaching about slavery, race, racism, and LGBTQ people in history. According to PEN America, M4L is behind 170 of the 294 advocacy-led book bans in schools nationwide during the 2022-2023 school year out of 1,477 recorded book bans.
Yeah, but this isn't Trump. This is some group called Moms for Liberty.
This is saying that this is Trump's connection to Moms
I know, but
that Trump has a
you don't
connection to them.
you don't
But yeah,
know.
it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to agree with this. Though I do feel like he said something about this. I could be wrong.
He probably did. I just think like in terms of all these issues,
Well, that's
at
what
least
I'm
in my
going through. I'm
opinion,
going
like
through
I
the
don't think
ones.
Trump
I'm going
is
through the
that.
ones that he agrees with. That's what I'm saying. Is that I'm going through the ones that they've said these are the ones that he agrees with. These are the ones that he's had some sort of advocacy for, or when he's talked about these issues. This is the same stuff that he said. He's used the same language, and that the stuff that Project 2025 is talking about, Trump's also talked about doing this stuff, and so that's like
Right,
where
but
you're saying we don't know which ones are the same, we don't know which ones he agrees with. I'm saying, well, we can kind of go through and look at them.
I guess, but it's very difficult to pinpoint unless he's specifically said or advocated for.
That's what I'm saying, is
And
that
I
he
get,
said and
would you
advocated
agree
for.
with this? So the point of what I'm making right now, do you agree with this? That from what I've seen, Donald Trump on the social conservative scale is pretty left for a Republican. Do you think that is true or no?
No. No, I
You
would
think
say
he's
that
like more?
yeah, so
You think he's
yes,
more right?
yes, I would say that he's definitely farther right. He appeals to like paleo-conservative and populist ideals more than
Yeah.
anything else. Whereas like we would consider the more like center-right group to be the neocons, and the neocons are the people who they call rhinos, who they say aren't real Republicans anymore because they're not on the Trump board. Those are the people who are part of like the Lincoln Project, who are telling everybody to just vote for Kamala instead of Trump because he's that dangerous. That's neocons. Those are like the center-right people want nothing to do with Trump.
But those are a lot of those people are the people who are more socially conservative. Like they would agree more with the teachings of Christianity and would want that legislated more.
Correct? Wait,
So I'm saying
neocons? Wait,
on that scale, like I think Donald Trump
wait.
is
Hold on,
somewhere in the middle.
hold on. Neocons?
A lot of neocons, yeah.
Maybe some, but generally these are like paleo-conservative and like more populist sorts of things. Like George W. Bush was a neocon. George W. Bush wouldn't have been in favor of like book bans and shit like that. He was more like a constitutional conservative. He was somebody who's like all about like following the Constitution and freedom of speech and that sort of shit.
Well, like I got like Mitt Romney or I think there'd be like a decent group in there. Probably Paul Ryan.
Like Ben Shapiro is
would
like a
fit
good
like
example of a
but they're
neocon.
pretty like they're quite socially conservative. But that wing of the party or that social conservatism has gotten less popular. Although I did hear you mentioning before I hopped on that you think that's going to kind of make a comeback. The Christian nationalist.
No, I do think that I do think that it is. I don't even think it's making a comeback. I think that is like a large part of the Trump movement is like Christian nationalism, paleo-conservatism, people who are like, yes, farther right and populist and are not people like Ben Shapiro or George Bush, the types of people who are more like neocons. Paleoconservatism is, yes, definitely farther down the spectrum than neoconservatism.
But I'd put Ben Shapiro further to the right of Trump on social conservatism. Like he would be, he's Jewish, but he would be, I think, in favor of a lot of the sort of same platform as a Christian nationalist.
What? So first off, Ben Shapiro is not
maybe
like
not Christian nationalist, but like
like
someone that is pro-religion, I guess.
Yeah, he is, but he's not somebody who would be in favor of book bans. He's not somebody who would be in favor of like a lot of the stuff that we were just talking about. And like when you say Trump is like more to the left, like on what? Like where what is an example
on that,
of
like
something?
On abortion. He's not very right wing on abortion. He like a lot of people that are like the Christian nationalist types, like a Matt Walsh at the Daily Wire, were very upset about Amber Rose speaking at the RNC. And I don't think Trump, the point I'm making is that Trump is a populist.
Hold on. These are not Amber Rose speaking there. I understand what you're talking about. The point that I'm making is that Trump, when it comes to policies and what it is that he advocates for, he is like more farther right. He is somebody who is going to advocate for farther right policies, and he is going to appease the Christian nationalist groups. Like that is who he is. That is what he's doing.
Yeah, I guess I just don't agree. Like I don't disagree 100%, but that's to me Trump more than anything is like a populist, and he likes Trump. He's like a Trump likes Trump, and he likes populism, and he likes sort of the, I'd say an American nationalist, like threatening tariffs and not being probably as free market as a bunch of other conservatives, but sort of an America first populist type of guy.
Yeah,
and I'm not like I would say he's like somewhere in the middle in terms of on the scale of social conservatism. That's how I would view Trump for sure.
Yes, again, there is the problem with what you're doing right now is that Trump, when it comes to his actions and the things that he wants, do not align with his policies. They just don't. The type of person that he is does not align with what it is that he's doing. The things that he's talked about throughout his lifetime and the things that he says do not align with the type of president that he's been. Like when he first started doing this, when he first started becoming a politician and trying to run for president, he went and met with a ton of people who were telling him, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're just going to go and find a bunch of polling on right-wing issues that everybody wants fixed the most. And then we're just going to have you tell them that you're going to give that to them. And that's it. That's all you, like, you're just going to keep saying, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. And that's it. And that's what they did, is they went and found tons of polling that just told them what conservatives and Republicans were concerned about. And then he just went and started saying, I'm going to fix those things. And that's been his presidency, is just trying to use polling and trying to use what it is that his base wants, and then just telling them, we're going to give this to you. And he continuously tries to do things like, yeah, like executive orders, pushing for Supreme Court rulings, you know, pushing for new bills in Congress. Like, that is the way that he's done his presidency. And so that's not, I'm not saying this is a bad thing, because that's a great way to like engage in democratic policies and try to get what it is that your base wants. I'm all for shit like that. But that just means that, yes, he does legislate based on what it is that the people that are voting for him is what it is that they want. And that's...
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I agree. Like, I don't think that's... And obviously, like, he's a Republican. He's got a bunch of policies that are pro-social conservatism as well.
Right. So when we're talking about the fact that, yes, Trump sleeps around and probably wants to be able to have abortions and shit like that, well, when it comes to his base wanting abortions banned, the best he can do and the best that he can get is just to leave it up to the states so that he's still able to have his abortions. He's still able to let his ladies get abortions, but he at least moves the scale a little bit to where he's able to allow right-wing states to have their own laws, right? These are like, so obviously, yes, it contradicts who he is and what it is that he personally wants, but he's trying to find some sort of middle ground to make it to where he's able to appease those people in some way.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll ask one more question, then I'll let you get back to your stream. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I hear.
Yeah, just like a thing. You said earlier you're undecided as a voter. Is that true? Like, are you undecided in terms of Trump or Kamala?
No, I'm voting for Kamala.
Okay. That's good. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, no, I'm just generally trying to get people to jump on and like argue with me about this stuff, and so I try to get people to come and say like, no, tell me why you want me to vote for Trump, and then I can start debating them on a lot of these issues. Generally, the things that I like debate most is like the fact that he like attempted a coup, or that he you know, that like what happened on January 6th was a part of a larger plan to take over the government, or him denying the election, or like probably all of the most undemocratic things he's ever done to kind of fuck up our institutions, or the things that I'm trying to focus on most to get people to recognize the type of person they're voting for.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're for Kamala then?
Yeah, definitely.
What would you rank Trump's term, his first term, 1 through 10? What would you give it?
I mean, it depends on what aspect we're talking about. Like, if we're just talking about getting policies done for the base that he has, maybe like a 4 or a 5. Because considering the fact that he had both of the other branches of government, or the Republicans had the majority in both, and also had the executive at the same time, I would have expected him to get a lot more done. Would have expected him to get a lot more. Would have expected a lot more with that. If we're talking about like his just overall like ability to get support. He seemed to do a pretty good job at like keeping his base fired up and keeping people continuously supporting him. Although when he left, Republicans all seemed to be really pissed off with him about January 6th and the attempted coup and all of that shit. That definitely lost him a lot of points, and I would assume was a big reason for why he lost the next election. That and his all of the like conspiracy theorisms throughout COVID, but yeah, now they're all like, fuck that shit. Let's just pretend none of that ever happened and go right back to voting for Trump again. And
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's hard to rate him as like this overall entity when he's very contradictory in a lot of ways. And while people may feel like he did a good job at advocating for the things that they wanted with the tools that he had at his disposal, he just got nothing done. Like he got absolutely nothing done and wasn't capable of really being effective. So
Yeah, like I live in Canada. I like following U.S. politics, but I think
mm.
Trump was pretty good on foreign policy. He had all those crazy tweets, but in general, I think his run on foreign policy is quite positive.
I would say that he had really good outcomes.
Yeah, like
When it
some of
comes
that
to
could be
the
literally luck, right? It could for sure.
yes,
Like
that's
his
what I was gonna
4 year
say. A lot
period.
of it could have been
Some
luck.
of it
Like the
could
shit
be,
with
but
Soleimani was wild. The fact that like as soon as he leaves office, then Putin goes and invades Ukraine. Um, just a lot of stuff that yeah, it's hard to know how much of that was luck and how much of it was him actually just being smart and tactical, or how much of it is the fact that he's just a loose cannon and nobody knows. Like all of these other country leaders are maybe just kind of afraid of him and afraid of like
yeah,
what he would do if they fuck around. They don't want to find out. So
yeah,
it's
that's the
yeah,
theory at
it's
least.
hard to know.
That's the kind of the theory that he's trying to sell. I think that he's trying to spin. I think as a positive, and maybe it is, but I mean, the counter argument to that would be like, dude, maybe you don't want to be a loose cannon if you're the
Hmm.
president, but I don't know.
Yep, yeah, but he didn't get us into any other wars, and that is the part that I think might be luck, because I believe he was setting records on drone strikes and like civilian deaths from drone strikes and shit like that, and so he
Is that
he
true? I
could have
think
gotten us into.
that could be true. I think Obama has the record, but maybe not.
Let me just check real quick. It would probably, I would say it'd probably be within a 4 year period because Obama was president for 8 years straight, and so he may
Yeah.
have the record for, let's see, strikes under the Bush administration 51, Obama 373, Trump 5. No
I
shot.
think I saw somewhere down where it said Trump had more. Like I think because that one said, yeah. I don't know that. I mean, I
What
don't
the
think he just had.
fuck?
I don't know.
Oh, this stops in 2017. Okay. No.
Best chart ever for Trump ends like 2 minutes into his presidency.
Um, Under Trump, drone strikes far exceeded Obama's
Yeah.
numbers.
Okay.
But yeah, I would assume that's based on like proportionality to the time spent in office. Uh, let's see. This administration has not only surpassed the previous one's drone strikes volume overseas, it has made the drone strike wars even more secretive, if that's possible. We can cobble together some reporting on the numbers, but finding exact figures on drone strikes in the Trump administration is difficult. More on that in a minute. This is really annoying the way that they're writing this. 2018 report, Daily Beast, Obama launched 186 drone strikes in Yemen, Somalia, and Pakistan during his first 2 years in office. In Trump's first 2 years, he had 238 shit. So yeah, so based on time, Trump's going to have a lot more.
Yeah. And another, I don't want to keep going if you got other people waiting to hop in, but as a point against Donald Trump, like I think right now, this is just my random opinion, not even American, but I think probably right now he's going to lose the election based on the momentum Kamala has, and I really think Donald Trump has lost a step in his campaigning. Like in 2016, he would do multiple events all the time, and right now he does maybe 3 a week, and they're okay. But I do think he was definitely a way better campaigner back in 2016.
Yeah, maybe. I haven't I haven't spent a lot of time looking at a lot of this, but yeah, just I think like you said, it seems like some of it's luck and some of it is some of it might just be like tactical. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows how much of it is which?
Cool. All right. Well, good chat. I'll talk to you later.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Later.
See ya.